Hi guys, here's part 2 of Roblox horror game Iceberg. Let's continue investigating. They Killed the Old Man in the Castle. They Killed the Old Man in the Castle is a horror game with multiple endings. We spawn in a desert and in front of us is the castle. The castle is quite big and has a few puzzles to solve. If you get an ending, you cannot leave normally. Instead you have to use Task Manager to shut down Roblox. Save red and green from scary. You wake up to a mysterious letter in your mailbox that is signed by someone named Scary. They say that they have captured Mario Brothers and that they are coming after you next. The main goal is to save Mario Brothers. Siligamania. Siligamania is a horror game based on an actual psychological disorder, siligamania. The term siligamania is introduced at the start of the game. Siligamania is characterized by compulsive acquisition, accumulation and conservation of objects that may have some value, such as money, or mostly in the cases, objects that have not a prior value, are unnecessary, useless or rubbish, because these objects are easier to acquire. There is a lack of organization in the process of storing those objects due to the amount that is given by a link between the person and each object, affecting the person's living space and hygiene. Separation of the objects remove their feeling of security, causes extreme anxiety and sometimes make them very aggressive. The game was inspired on the mirror. Paralysis. You're conscious but unable to move or speak, while in the paralysis the person may hallucinate. The demon can appear out of nowhere and kill the player. During the gameplay, player can only close eyes, focus, and stop breathing. Apple pie. Apple Pie is another horror game that switches from a bright atmosphere to a dark, depressing and foggy atmosphere. The goal is simple: find ingredients for an apple pie. Each time you collect an ingredient, you get sent to another level, for example, shallows, deep, abyss, and ending with void, desolation, corruption. Midnight mistake. You wake up at midnight because you were hungry. You go downstairs to grab a snack but someone breaks into your house. Trespass. You and your grandfather decide to go on a camping trip. It's summer break. You also invited a few friends. Grandfather chooses the place to set a tent. It's a quiet area in the forest. Suddenly, you wake up and you see that your belongings are scattered and messed up, but the most important thing is that grandfather has gone missing. Into the darkness. Main character's name is David Rembalski. It is Friday, June 3, 1994. His best friend, Eric Morris, hasn't been responding to his calls for 4 days. Before that, Eric was telling him all about some weird demonic stuff he's been trying out. David wants to go check up on him and make sure Eric is safe. Haunted. Haunted is a story horror game. But this horror game isn't as simple as it looks. On the menu, before you play the game, you have to get a class. For example, there are such classes as Frightened, Defender, Coward, and more. Each class has their own ability. For example, Frightened class can scream. Strict Construction. Strict Construction is a survival horror game where you must build and defend your base to survive. Currently, the main game is still being developed, but you can access the tutorial mode. Do homework in the middle of the night. It's a simulation of a stressful night doing online homework while avoiding detection. Time starts when you sit down and boot up the computer for the first time. 3 a.m. Cheddar Cheese. 3 a.m. Cheddar Cheese is a multiplayer horror game where one of the players gets selected as a monster and others as humans. The goal is simple. Survive till the time runs out. Sam and the Mystery of the Treasure. Sam and the Mystery of the Treasure is another horror game where you play as Sam who wants to uncover the secrets of the treasure. As you open the basement behind one of the buildings, your journey starts. The gameplay looks like the one from Save Red and Green from Scary. Unfortunately, you cannot play the game because it got private. Calampokiphobia. Calampokiphobia is a maze horror game where you have to escape Cornelius's maze. The name of the game Kalampokophobia is a fear of corn. The Masquerade. The Masquerade is roleplay game where you spawn near a huge golden mansion. You are probably wondering right now, why is this even a spooky game? Well, there's a myth called masquerades, and you're able to join the game only through the invite. The description of the game has rules. The first rule is that you must wear a proper attire, that includes a formal suit and a mask. The second and third rules are obvious: no crowding, and guests can be free if there is no ongoing event. Fun fact, back in 2018, Flamingo and his friend Adam were playing that game and failed Masquerade's test, although they were able to join. The Tempest. The Tempest is another myth-related game where you spawn in front of a huge shadow structure. If you walk in, you can see a shadow figure with a red spike. The shadow's name is ASPX. ASPX signifies Active Server Pages Extended. Active Server Page Extended is an open-source development framework used by web developers to generate dynamic web pages using the .NET and C# programming languages. If you decided to check to go behind the structure, you will be teleported to another place. You can find reverse ASPX, which can be described as a white-colored diamond metal character saying, "Leave." If we won't leave, this will happen. If you walk towards reverse ASPX, you will get teleported back to the place where the shadow structure is, but it is destroyed. This may show how difficult Nolly's life is. Goodbye World. Goodbye World is another game made by Nolly but on another account, Ban World. In this place, you have an item called Pin, which looks like a black crown. You can see dead Ban World with a shadow spirit near him with a crown. Both Pin and the shadow spirit crown can belong to Nolly. Near Ban World's corpse, there is a gun, which can signify that he suicided. A small detail I saw is that behind the spawn, there is a mask, which also belongs to Nolly's avatar. The Fallen King Who Rose. The Fallen King Who Rose is another myth-like game, where you spawn at a void-like place, and you can see a grave with a cross, and a coffin, with Lisus. There is also a building which you can enter and it will lead to a classroom. There's also a whole story about this mythical game. Basically, the game introduces two characters to the Lisus narrative, Lazuzia and Lazorius. Their names are similar to Lisus and this hints at them representing Lisus. Lazuzia, who is mentioned by name in the graffiti on the desk in the classroom, seems to be bullied in this classroom. This is due to the phrase, "Loser Lazuzia," written on the desk. The date on the classroom's board is a 2007 date. The game seems to imply that the former story of Lisus and Malarina being bullied in 2007 was actually Lazuzia and Malarina. The Double R Bar. The Double R Bar is a game with a hidden meaning. The bar is made by two other bars. Co-owners Randy and Roran are the part of the Double R Bar. The second bar is interesting, because it's not as easy to access. But what's so special about the second bar? The second bar is special since it's not just an ordinary bar, but is also made for a contract killing ring. My Dollhouse. My Dollhouse is once again a myth-based game, which was created by a girl Lauhi. She is a Polish girl which had her own dollhouse, and seemed to be a worshipper of another myth, Eucride. In 2017, Lauhi passed away. After a while, one of Lauhi's friends changed her account description. "Sorry for my English, I am Polish. I am not the original owner of the Lauhi account. Unfortunately, she passed away on the 16th of December 2017. I am simply here to archive this account, and I do not have any information on any of her games beside this. Her friends' accounts are not owned by Lauhi. I cannot tell you who I am for my privacy. Thank you for your understanding. Frostbite. Frostbite is a survival horror game where you have to survive by staring at the monsters. Once you spawn, the text appears which says, "Don't look away," and your journey starts. I'm gonna skip Underground and Elementary since those games are the same as Frostbite but the maps are different. Eucrides Place. Eucrides has only one friend, Lauhi, yes, the creator of Dollhouse. The game's description which I am gonna show you is the reason of Lauhi's death. A man and his child had died in a car accident in Denver, Colorado. The car was found with the man in it near an abandoned area outside of town. His daughter's body was never found, and is still missing today. This area was found in the Rocky Mountains near the location of the death later on.